Hey folks, Captain Kilt-Man here, Captain Kilt-Man, at your lighthouse keeping service. How are ye all? Hope you're doing well this fine, inclement night. I don't know what's up with my voice there, maybe a touch of the wee COVID's taking place. Anyway, how are you all? Here is the video review of The Lighthouse. Yes, what I promised you. Yes, you may be able to, at some point, perceive the lighthouse beam sweeping past. Yes, if you saw my previous video, you'll know that I've agonized over trying to create the effect of a lighthouse beam sweeping across this environment, just to help you, feel, the ambience of being trapped in this isolated, rocky, volcanic outcrop of, devil betrayed land just off the coast of New England. And therein you're going to feel just like Willem Dafoe as the grizzled old lighthouse keeper, Robert Pattinson as his lighthouse keeper's assistant, who's going to be there with him for 4 weeks. And the two of them are going to have to do arduous work in shifts, looking after the light, running the diesel engines which keep the lenses turning round, looking after the food and the rations, and bringing up lobsters every morning so they can eat at night. Oh yes, and try to get along with each other during those long, long, arduous days of pure hardship. Let me just tend to the wee lion lamp over there. Yes, it's all highly technological. Yes, good job I've got a big long stick to keep that light turning. Got to keep them seafarers safe, Robin Eggars wrote and directed The Lighthouse. Robin Eggars had done The Witch, or The Itch, as it's written on the posters. About, 16th century Christian Puritans up in Salem, Massachusetts. And because their ideals don't quite fit with the rest of the village, they get kind of outcast. And then they begin to experience witchcraft. Or do they? Because it's all, you don't know. It's mood, it's atmosphere, it's escalating paranoia and madness, disturbing imagery, and just, you either love it or you loathe it. It's that kind of stuff. And you'll find that Lighthouse is cut from the same cloth. In fact, it's probably even more extreme in many ways. Now, the bare bones of the story is, as I've already outlined, it's just two guys, an older experienced guy and a younger guy, who don't know each other until they're flung together on this island. And they have to look after the lighthouse, and do all the work, and look after each other. And it's just a 4-week period, but when stormy weather, a big nor'easter comes in and squalls beset the island, well, their relief crew don't turn up. So they're stuck there for a wee bit longer, and tempers will fray, attitudes will change, secrets will come out, violence will erupt. It's a fantastic film, folks, but it's very alienating and isolating. The film had a very spotty release in the UK, and I don't think it got such a general release in the States either. I could be wrong. I've waited a long time to watch this movie. I said in the previous video that it's took months and months for it to come out on home video in the UK. You could get it on Amazon Prime, and I've got that, and you could watch it, but I wanted to wait for the proper disc to come through. And I have watched it. And that thing about when you've built up a movie in your own mind and you've read little reviews of it, yeah, I try to keep away from some spoilery stuff. As in fact, I'm going to try to be mostly spoiler free for you guys. But my track record with that ain't so good. As the spotlight suddenly hits me, you Kilt-Man, you've given away the endings of too many movies. Let's turn that around again. I've got the door wide open there, and there is quite a wind blowing. I was kind of hoping it would keep it going, but hey, But yeah, I'll try to be spoiler free in the most part. But these two guys have got to try to get along with each other, but they immediately do not get along. They have There's chips on shoulders. Robert Pattinson's guy, Ephraim, as he's called, is actually a lumberjack from up country, British Columbia or whatever the hell it was like. And it's apparently his first time, working. You may as well call it at sea because it's a seafaring lifestyle just stuck on a crag of land. That's their vessel, that's their ship. But they've got to tend to this lighthouse, they've got to tend to the lamp. Now, Thomas Wake, who is the Willem Dafoe character, he's a very strange character, this guy. This guy spouts, seafaring rhetoric, like Captain Ahab style zeal. This guy can quote, Davy Jones's Locker Bible, for minutes, hours on end without blinking or taking a breath. And that's Willem Dafoe for you. Totally inhabiting this character, grizzled with a big beard on him. But he's got a secret. So is the other guy. Secrets are all around. But Willem Dafoe's secret is the lamp itself. Because he will not let anybody else go up there to tend to the lamp. That is his job. Now, in reality, because I've read a lot about lighthouse keepers, mainly in the mysteries of what happens to various lighthouse keepers, which is what has formed the basis and the inspiration for this movie. Robert Eggars read a lot about lighthouse keepers at this particular, era. And one particular story stuck in his mind, and that was the lighthouse at Smalls Island, which is just off the southwest coast of Wales. And although murder wasn't involved in it, a death was. 2 lighthouse keepers who did not get along, both of them called Thomas. Now bear that in mind, because I know I said one's called Thomas Wake in the film and one's called Ephraim. There are secrets and identities will be revealed, and the names Thomas and Thomas will transpire to mean a hell of a lot more in the film. But in the real life story, these 2 guys didn't get along, and they didn't ever come to blows, but during one very heated argument, one of them got up to remonstrate and fell over in his fit of rage, hit his head, gashed it open, died. So when the relief crew turned up, there's a dead body there, but it wasn't just lying there preserved in the lighthouse cottage. Oh no. The other guy, because he thought, well, I'm going to get the blame for this. If the body decomposes, what am I going to do? So he nailed it into a wooden casket and he hauled it up the side of the lighthouse and left it dangling there. But of course, by the time the relief crew got there, the weather had destroyed this casket and his body was just swinging, bashing against the lighthouse walls. And of course, this guy is saying, I didn't kill him, it was an accident. But in the meantime, he'd gone quite mad. And that forms the basis of Robert Eggers' movie, The Lighthouse. And as I said before, this is a guy that is steeped in the minutiae of a period. He wants to get everything just right. He ensured that Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson, both had dialect coaches. And my God, you will need subtitles for some of it. Seriously, Willem Dafoe has got he's got a mouth full of barnacles, salt and brine. He's got an anchor lodged in his cheekbone. He literally is spouting Ahab style, rhetoric with ferocious gusto. And it's fabulous stuff. It's bone chilling, but it's also highly amusing. And that, of course, is one of the cruxes of the story, because as terrifying as it gets, because the 2 guys are beset with visions, they go into trances, they have crazy moments of just, is that really a mermaid? Because yes, you will see a mermaid. You will also see something with tentacles that's not in the sea. It's actually somewhere in the lighthouse. So shades of Lovecraft are in there, but also with the imagery, with the dialogue, with the attitudes, with the 2 characters at odds with each other. It would help to know some Greek mythology as well. Proteus and Prometheus, you've got that, plays heavily into what happens and what transpires on this little rocky bastion at the edge of sanity. But as I say, this is a film which is not for everyone, because Eggers doesn't play by the conventional rules. He tells stories in a very obtuse manner. We're told this story seems to develop through the eyes of Robert Pattinson because he's the outsider there. He's not used to this. He's learning the job. But he's a grafter. But doesn't matter how hard he works, doesn't matter how much he scrubs the floors or checks the shingles or puts boards across the windows when the storms come in, or hauls the lobsters up, or gets all the fuel for the diesel engines to run those lamps and lenses. Doesn't matter. In stormy weather, he's got a wheelbarrow full of all this crap and he's falling all over the place. He's battered, he's injured. Doesn't matter how much work he puts in. Thomas Wake is still going to just rip him to shreds. I want you to do this floor again. Scrub it till your knuckles are red raw, and then scrub it 10 more times. Scrub it till the moon goes up and the sun goes down. And you'd be like, fuck you. And he says, I didn't sign up for this. He's also got to put up with Willem Dafoe, Thomas Wake's endless farting. He's blowing off like a nor'easterly. It just doesn't stop. It's relentless. Every night you'd have to have their meal and a bit of a toast. A toast to the sea gods. You've got to keep the omens in your favour. But at first, Robert Pattinson, Ephraim, doesn't seem to want to drink. I don't drink this stuff. He just has water. But gradually over time, the two of them, every night, will be throwing bottles of whiskey down their necks. And it's, being a whiskey drinker myself, and sadly, trying to create the ambience, I wanted to have my bottle of whiskey, and as you see them do, they're laughing and joking, dancing and singing, then they're fighting the next minute, rolling around, vomiting, and then you wake up together, in a stew of broken tables and cutlery and broken glass, and that's every morning. But I wanted to be here going, oh, like that. But sadly, I finished my whiskey a little bit earlier. And I thought I'd another bottle. Damn it, I didn't. But in the film, when they get stuck there, the relief doesn't turn up. What about the rations? Break out the rations. So they'll go and dig, because Willem Dafoe's character has got a cachet of rations there. And when he pull this chest out, it's only got bottles of whiskey in it. No food. So these two are going to go through this psychotic odyssey, visions, secrets. Confessions will be made, lies will be uncovered, deceit will be unravelled, and the two will end up at loggerheads, quite literally. You will see visual references to The Haunting, to The Shining, to, obviously Moby Dick, to many, many movies. But it's also not just the theme and the way it's been done with this bizarre attitude. The wind's obviously picked up because me light's turning again. And where was I going with that? It's the way it's been filmed as well. He films it in black and white, and it's pure crystalline monochrome. So every little pimple, pot mark, scratch, scuff is elevated. Shadows are enhanced. Contrast is incredible. It's so sharp. The imagery can cut you. It can cut your retina just by looking at it. But not only that, he's done it in 1.19 to 1 ratio. That, folks, is a square. Like that. So the effect that has, even though the island that they filmed on, actually I think it was just the coastline, it wasn't actually an island. They built an entire lighthouse and the cottages from scratch. They built the whole thing from the ground up. But the producer said, please, will you film this in widescreen? Please do it panoramic, please do it, because you've built this sumptuous set and on the location, but we're not seeing it. And that was the point Robert Eggers was making. If you're isolated, cut off, and you're in this sort of trapped claustrophobia, paranoia setting in, the walls close in on you. So that's why he filmed it like that, to bring it really in like that, so you're in there. It's very clever stuff. The soundtrack, Mark Corban did the score for the movie, who also did The Witch. Very bizarre. You're hearing it now. I'm playing it in the other room, but it's all based around discordance, shrieks, blares, and the foghorn itself. There you go. Hey, timing is everything, and for once, I got it right. The foghorn, by the way, back in those days, the foghorn is deafening. Where I live right now, we hear the foghorn a lot because I'm right on the cusp of the Mersey estuary. So, the Irish Sea is just there. River Mersey's there, but it widens out. It's a big shipping lane. We hear the foghorn a lot. And we're all familiar with the sound of a foghorn. Well, if you live at the coast, you are. And if you watch spooky seafaring movies, you'll know it as well. But up close, that long, mournful wail, it doesn't do that. It actually goes, and each foghorn has a different sound. It goes, but for example, it'll be bob, bob, bob up close. Decibels, it's deafening. It'll drive you insane to listen to it. And up close, you've got to have ear defenders on of some description. But because it travels across sea and usually through mist and fog, obviously, it's moist air. So the sound travelling is amplified across the sea, and it stretches each note out, so it travels further. Obviously, then there's logic behind that, so that ships out at sea can hear it. It'll reach them, but by the time it reaches them, it's a long, mournful noise. And because each foghorn has its own different signature, its own different system of notes, the sailors will know exactly. Well, back in those days, now you've got charts and satellite navigation. But back in those days, you could pinpoint where you were by the sound that was making. Right, well, they were on this stretch of the coastline. But so the soundtrack's built around that, and the actual. So you get more than just a film review with me. I'll tell you a bit of facts and figures as well. But because I love the whole thing behind these stories is phenomenal, fascinating how they do it. But it's a system of pipes, and they build compressed air, and that will be pumped through like a horn tube, and that will blow this noise out. But you've got to keep that all pumped up, and it's a system of pulleys and winches, and it's highly engineered. Most islands would have at least 3 people on it. Usually 4. One guy would be in charge, and he'd take it in shifts and all that. So there'd always be someone left in the lighthouse if something that happened on the rugged coastline itself. Say one of the dories, one of your boats, are broken away, and 3 had to go out, or somebody had to go out and do it. One person would always be left back in the lighthouse in case a rogue wave swept them all off, which in some of the mysterious disappearances of lighthouse keepers, the Alien Moor story, where 3 were completely vanished. Poof! And that was the Flannel Islands as well. And so, yeah, Robert Eggers' film definitely gives you and conveys this sense of isolation and the sense of toil that these guys go through. So you get that real basis. You get the sort of the drudgery, the daily, oh God, and how that really begins to wear you down. And Robert Pattinson, as I say, he's going to be playing Batman, and that got massively delayed because of COVID. And at first I thought, Robert Pattinson, can he really put the cowl on? I could see him playing Bruce Wayne, but can he actually play the Bat? Well, yeah, I reckon he can, because I like his performance in this. I think, although his accent, they both have voice coaches, as I say, and Willem Dafoe really owns it. Pattinson, his accent does waver. You do notice it wavered a bit. That doesn't really matter, because for the most part he gets it. But his intensity, his bravura qualities really shine through, and I think he's outstanding. You get his confusion, his anger, his frustration, his rage, his attempts to take over, to be stronger. And it's wonderful stuff. Willem Dafoe is just, he's always good. Willem Dafoe seems to take, every so often he'll do, a big mainstream blockbuster. He'll be in there. Like, he's the Green Goblin. He didn't need the fucking mask to play the Green Goblin, did he? Take the mask off, Willem, because you've got that fucking goblin imp face anyway. And he'll obviously he did what's it called? The guy from Under the Sea. Oh god, Jason Momoa, Aquaman. That was the one. And he played the tutor, his mentor under the sea. But then he'll do things like Antichrist and The Hunter, which are totally left field, bizarre, especially in Antichrist's case. Very controversial, very weird and nasty. But he'll take on roles like that because he likes, something different to get his teeth into. And Robert Pattinson is exactly the same. A bit like Daniel Radcliffe. After doing the Harry Potter movies, Daniel Radcliffe wanted to just try and do the most perverse, weird, different sort of stuff. A bit like Elijah Wood from Lord of the Rings. After Frodo, he went into Sin City. Then he played Maniac. These guys obviously don't want to get typecast in these family-friendly fantasy adventures. And Robert Pattinson, again, a bit like there's someone lapping out there. I would say that's the tide lapping at the rocks, but I actually think it's a husky dog drinking from her bowl. Let me just get this light in action. Come on. There we go. It's almost like a German spotlight from Stalag Luft, But Robert Pattinson has actually said, look, I want to take on the weirdest roles going now. And when he got this, he just thought, holy shit. I know I wanted weird, but this is even weirder. Mermaids, tentacles, masturbation, farting. Oh yeah, I did say masturbation there. Yeah, that's in there. Hey, it's men stuck on an island, And Robert Pattinson will find a carving, a china carving of or an ivory carving of a mermaid, and he will use that. Yeah, well, look, it is what it is. I know some people don't like that sort of thing, and I can imagine, I'm just not enjoying this movie. Oh, why are they doing that? But they are. But it's very funny as well, as disturbing and as acutely observed as these character traits and nuances are. It's hysterically funny. I mean, you've got the what jewel. You'll know it when you see it. And you've also got the fabulous speech when Willem Dafoe's character, when the two of them blow up, it's a lot of pent up frustration and resentments there. And Robert Pattinson's character he's fed up with the same food all the time. I just want a steak. I just want a steak. You know what I'd do if I got a steak? I'd fuck it. And instead of finding a humour in all that, like an understanding, Willem Dafoe's character is like, what do you mean? Do you not like me lobster? I'll tell me you like me lobster. You do. You does like me lobster. And this goes on, and it's just brilliant. Because you're in the moment, it's intensity. It's brazen, it's disturbing, it's crazy, it's warped, it's hysterical. But it will turn, like the light keeps turning. It will turn sinister. And there's an element as well. Do you remember Ben Wheatley's film, A Field in England, about the English Civil War? Shot in black and white as well. And there's something in the tent, there's something that a particular character may have packed away. And when they see it, you don't see it, but you see their reaction. Euphoria, madness, whatever. There's a huge element of that creeps into the Lighthouse as well. Robert Eggers is not ripping anybody off. He's basing it on a real life story, but he's taking it in a whole new direction. And there's definitely elements, visual, thematic, which you've seen before, but it's the way he weaves them together and comes up with something completely unorthodox, completely left field, and not to everyone's taste, admittedly. If you don't like masturbation, farting, and seagull slaughter, then stay away. But if you likes lobster, you know, and tending to lights, and fondling stricken mermaids, this could be the film for you. Folks, I loved it. It didn't let me down. I knew it was going to be weird. I knew from seeing The Witch it was going to be weird, and I knew this was weirder than The Witch. And I had hopes for it, and I thought I knew things that might happen, which didn't, and then things that did happen didn't happen in a way that I thought. I'd sit back and go, hang on a minute, I wish that had happened a bit differently. Maybe if you'd had a bit more impact. But then, when the film finishes and you sit back and you let the memory of it soak through, it all seems to make its own curious warped sense, its own nightmarish logic. And that's what I love about films like this. The fact that they're not for everybody, the fact that it's a definite singular vision with a filmmaker who's just saying, look, I'm not going to play by the rules, I'm not going to play by the conventions that you expect me to. I'm going to tell you a story, but I'm going to tell it my way. And if you like it, great. If you don't, hey, get the next relief ship away from here. And if it doesn't come, then you're stranded here with me. Make the most of it. I loved it. Mark Corvin's score is bizarre, avant-garde, blaring discordance, agitated, angular. There's nothing lyrical about it. It's mournful, it's scary, it's sinister. And the entire film, apart from its completely, outrageous, hysterical moments, is like that. Deep, dark, subversive and disturbing, and yet inordinately clever and intelligent at the same time, because you've got two actors who are really giving it a tour de force, bravura double act. The two didn't speak whilst filming at all, apart from actually, in the scene. Between takes, they wouldn't speak to each other, and between takes, apparently Robert Pattinson was staying in character and getting very, very intense. And yet, ironically, at the end of the day's shoot, he'd go back to a hotel with the crew. Whereas Willem Dafoe, during the shooting and in between takes, he'd sit off with the crew and laugh and joke and break character. But when he finished filming for the day, he was staying in an old fisherman's cottage to keep himself isolated. And I love this. I love how different actors use different styles. And I know, the famous story, well, what methods do you use? How do you get into character? Well, it's called acting, darling. I don't do any of that shit. I just act. I read the script and I play the character. But some people, and we know who they are, have to invest themselves 150% into that character. They take it home with them. They go and live off the land. Daniel Day-Lewis and Michael Mann, filming Last of the Mohicans, for months went out in the wilds of British Columbia and hunted and trapped and lived and bivouacked together. And they didn't need to, but for some people, that's what they have to do to invest such integrity and believability into their characters. And you'll find in this movie, you will not sit there and go, oh, fucking hell, it's a bit over the top, that, come on now. You will believe that these two guys are stuck on that island and they are not getting along. And I love the fact that they do get along sometimes, but it's alcohol's done it. And they'll be dancing together, they'll be hugging each other, then they'll be fighting and tables going over. I've had many a night like that, You make new friends, they become best friends, then sworn enemies, and you beat the shit out of them. And then come the morning, you're best friends again. And then the next day, you don't even recognise each other. I've been down that road. But yeah, folks, once again, I think this is a nice little trick of mine now to not give you too much. I've spoken a lot about the film, but I haven't given anything away, really. Or have I? Storms, a big lighthouse, creepy stairs, seagulls, shingles, rain, whole lot of fucking rain, farting, and masturbation. But enough about me. I recommend it. As I say, it ain't for all of you, but if you like the sound of this, and set yourself the target of getting through this and just see what you think. It's well worth it. It's very rewarding. It's different, and it's prompted me to, investigate the laws of physics, the laws of amplitude, the laws of spinning fucking things round. There we go. It's good, isn't it? You wouldn't believe how difficult it was to get that done. I'm not even going to turn the camera around to show you because I ain't giving my secrets away. A bit like Robert Eggars with this movie. There's some secrets you're not going to get to find out. Anyway, folks, I've got some lobsters to catch and some whiskey to drink. Oh, I've drunk it, haven't I? Ah, well. In the meantime and in between time, you guys keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. And I am going to see you all later. Ye does. Ye likes me lobster. Ye does. I know ye does.